My name is Paul Hunt, and this is Conversations in Tourism. I'm a village kid. I'm from a fishing village in the west of England. I saw sailboats come in from San Francisco. The world was out there waiting for me. I was a lost kid, and I think most of us are lost kids at some stage, aren't they? And I woke up one day and realized that I wanted to see the world, meet people, travel, sunshine, live comfortably. And I somehow decided that the hotel business would be it. I recognized I had to give me to enjoy those things, and me meant hours, long hours. When I was a chef in Switzerland, I used to work 18 hours a day. Tourism was not a good word in 1970. I first came here in 1970 briefly, and in the very early 70s, Belize was frightened of tourism. They'd seen casinos in Puerto Rico and a lot of mass tourism in different parts, and so the word tourism was not welcome. It took a few years to get into circulation and be accepted. In Belize there were some adventure camps, some hunting camps. There was a jaguar hunter, a couple of fishing camps, but nothing in any kind of organized way. Sally Grief became Sally McCorkle, had I think 6 rooms at San Pedro. Inland tourism really hadn't started too much. As I say, it was more an adventure type of outfitting, I think they call it. The vision began much earlier. Some of us who were by now in the late 70s getting our businesses going used to meet on top of Jean Shaw's hotel, Mopan Hotel, and discuss how we would move forward. We did a marketing effort in 1976, the very first national marketing effort. So there was a lot went on leading up to the BTIA. In 1983, we had a group called the Belize Working Committee for Tourism. A lot of people put their money into it and began to distribute what they call collateral, which is printed matter, put ads in Hotel and Travel Index. And then, of course, in 1984-85, along came the Ministry of Tourism. Until then, it had come under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. And so there were a lot of things went ahead, but what was needed really was one voice. The BTIA really was founded, I think, in 84, 85. A lot of feelings of the need to combine efforts and so on, a lot of passion. And so, frankly, the BTIA as a national body incorporated people from different segments of the industry, from different geographic parts of the country, as one voice, and really as a forum, so we could discuss things. I wouldn't say so much advocacy. We all knew where we were going. We just need to make the point and get our thoughts together. So it really was a very exciting time. And then I think in 1991 I was kind of elected off the floor of one of the annual meetings. I was a founder member, of course, but elected off the floor and was able to play my part in just pushing it forward. The industry needed bold leadership, and several early presidents gave the association that. It's a fluid, ongoing process. I think each investor, each entrepreneur, each hotelier, each restaurateur, each tour operator has their own feelings about which way the industry should go, and by and large there's a lot of coordination and common viewpoint. And I'm optimistic about that. I think we need to be very wary of staying what I would call upmarket and not going into too many charter airlines. And frankly, the whole cruise ship issue was a big debate. It's worked out okay. So I think as long as the elements work together, that's fine. The BTB, of course, is public sector, and the BTIA is private sector, and those will always remain what they are, public and private. I think it's been quite remarkable how closely they've worked together in recent years, and that has really, I think, been very, very favorable for, as you see, numbers climbing, arrivals climbing. We got a long way to go, but let's hope that we can stay upmarket so that we get a better return on our investment. Renting a couple of cars. So that began in, I think, late '92, maybe early '93, and it's just grown. She's taken on the Hertz franchise, and now Dollar and Thrifty. It's grown to a large number of current model, low mileage SUVs. Quite a different business, and not one that excites me like the hotel business. I'm an hotelier by profession, and so on. But it's quite rewarding. One meets a lot of interesting people and makes things work. I think one key thing about the transportation in the rental field is feeding visitors. It's like a feeding system. It's part of the infrastructure to get people to go where they want to go and see the 1,000-foot falls, or stay at Chalk Creek, or go down to Punta Gorda and take a look around there. It's really very rewarding. So yeah, I mean, again, strictly upscale. We took on franchises that were upscale, as Radisson is upscale. Always with a view to, should we say, return on investment and making people really happy. Well, the story goes, when we had sold the hotel, I decided that the car rental operation might be useful, and I was passing through Miami, and I called two franchises on the principle that you either go to be the cheapest or you go to be the best. So I called Payless, and really I was in Miami passing through, and I called Payless Car Rental to see if they were interested in a franchise in Belize, and the phone rang and rang and rang and rang. So I said, well, if the cheapest aren't interested, let me go to the best. So I dialed the Hertz number. Orlando was right there. Hello, Paul, come on down, let's talk. And so that's how the Hertz thing happened. And so inside a couple months we had the franchise, and it's been a growth story ever since. Well, I would say we're feeling our way into recovery, and it's not easy. It's a bouncy road. Just yesterday, President Biden, well, the day before, said that he's recommending that people don't travel abroad. I think he said 80% of the world don't go there, and I need to know, is Belize on that list or not? And so it's a very bouncy road, and I think we need to take nothing for granted about any recovery. I think most of us in the industry seem to feel that once we get through this summer, the prospects of getting into a good season are very strong. And for my own part, we are planning that in the business that my wife runs, Betty Jean. She's reckoning on adding to the fleet and having more bookings as we get into the season, and frankly get a rate that begins to pay the bills, because there's been a huge surplus, supply way beyond the level of demand, and so it's affected rate terribly. So we're feeling our way back in. I think Easter was good. We got a little bounce for Easter. I think everyone got a little bounce for Easter. It's going to be hard going for a few months yet. But I think we have to recognize that it's going to be a year or two before we can begin to really be sure that we're back on the road. Come on down. Actually, I had a son came in from Texas for Easter, and it really was much easier than we all imagined. Oh, he had to make sure he got his double shot at that end and got his test at this end, but it was okay. And so I think it works. So come on down. The water's fine. We're all ready to have fun, and we're all wearing a mask, but we can take it off to have a beer. So, yes, indeed. What's nice and what seems to work very well, and I think this is what I would do too, do the inland bit first. Do the cave tubing or the whatever it is, horseback riding or climbing up the Mayan mounds or whatever, do the hard bit first, and then head on out to one of the properties on the Keys for a little bit of R&R and dip the feet in the ocean. So I think that would kind of put the thing together nicely, don't you? Food-wise, well, you asked me about the perfect dinner, but I think you'll need to start really with stuffed fried jack for breakfast. Oh my. And then how about, on a cooler day, how about some nice fish boil up for lunch? I think that would be good, don't you? If you're still hungry at supper time, well, a bit of fried fish would be nice. Snapper, red snapper. How's about that? That's a great question, and I feel privileged to be able to answer, because this is key to Belize's future in tourism. Successful hotel keeping is very, very important. There are two models. One is the science. One is a science and one is an art. In North America, hotel keeping is a science. In Europe, hotel keeping is an art. And I grew up on the European side, and frankly, if you didn't do it all, then you weren't going to make it. I have scrubbed kitchen floors and toilet floors at 3 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because when you run a property, you've got to know the feelings and the emotions of the people who are doing those jobs. You've got to know how tough it is to make up beds for, you know, a dozen or 18 rooms per day, and clean out bathtubs and so on. You've got to understand the way your staff feel about it, to know how hard or how gently you can push them, and to work with them and empathize with them. And they enjoy that. And I think that's really a key to Belizeans who want to be successful in the industry. They need to be prepared to work their way up, work in a hotel kitchen or a restaurant, carry luggage, all those jobs that make up the industry. And if they can do some of that, then they'll know when they're ready to enter into some kind of administrative position. You know, you feel it. I remember feeling it after I'd done about, I guess, 5-6 years, which included some formal study, but a lot of it was just, you know, working in the dining room, commis waiter, washing dishes, all those things. And the hours are long. Don't worry about the hours. If you're a clock watcher, just forget about the hotel business, because the hours are long, but the reward is wonderful. The reward of making a visitor happy is tremendous. Sally Grief became Sally McCorkle, had I think 6 rooms at San Pedro. Inland tourism really hadn't started too much. As I say, it was more an adventure type of outfitting, I think they call it. You know, Belize is a beautiful country. Blue Hole, Victoria Peak, jungle, I mean so many things. But it's about the people. And I call this a transcultural situation. There is no cultural division here. It's a wonderful melting pot. I mean, the word melting pot is easy to conjure, but it truly is a very transcultural situation. And I don't think we've recognized yet what that really means. What that means is the same acceptance we afford to people from different cultures within Belize, we afford to visitors from outside Belize. And it's a very genuine, relaxed welcome. It's quite different from the Eastern Caribbean. And so, to me, the key thing about Belize, in the end, is the people.